Welcome to The Right Focus, a podcast for writers, newbies and veterans, and everyone in between. We're hosted by M.A. Lee with the assistance of Remy Black and Edie Rooms, all from Writers Inc. Books. Our focus is productivity, process, craft, and tools. Each episode lasts as long as it takes to fix a quick dinner, drive a short commute, or take a brisk walk. Resources and links are in the show notes. Visit us at therightfocus.blogspot.com. Now, on to this week's episode. Welcome back to Fall into Poetry from The Right Focus. Our poet for this episode is crime fiction writer Janet Innis. Poet before she was a crime writer, she has always told stories, writing narrative poems, as well as flash fiction, short stories, longer poems, and novels. Whether poetry or prose, her focus is the exploration of personality, with a motivation and drive toward boundary-breaking action. While we contend with computer glitches, probably from storms in the area, we had a great conversation about poetry, fiction, and writing in general. Here's the interview. You are Janet Innis.
I am.
And I see that you're a crime fiction writer,
Yes.
but you also do poetry.
Yes, it's a wonderful combination. It's like, a Reese's peanut butter cup, right? Two great tastes that go great together.
Yes. How did you get started in writing? Let's start with that.
God. I'm one of those people, I've just always written.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 7, my very first story, I read a lot of mythology. I was a very precocious reader. So I read a lot of mythology. And when I was 7, I wrote a story about a prince, and he was fighting off, opponents or something, and there was blood a foot deep on the floor after the battle.
You should have known something then.
Yeah, I know, right? That was probably a hint. But then I switched to poetry, and I wrote poetry.
Oh, my goodness. You are glitching.
Am I?
Yeah. That could be on my end because we have had storms today.
Yeah, it's clouding up outside. We're going to be having storms too.
Yeah. Where are you?
Rhode Island?
I'm in East Tennessee.
Oh, are you?
So
you've had weather, haven't you?
Yes. We've been very hot. 98 degrees. Real feel 108 this past week. And I'm going like, Next week we're supposed to have 2 days that are not going to get to 80. And every morning is going to be in the 60s. So I'm going like, yes.
Here's my summer right there.
Yeah. Let me switch.
Am I yelling? Am I talking too loudly?
Pardon?
Am I talking too loudly? Am I yelling?
No. Am I loud?
No, not at all.
Loudly.
Not at all. I feel like I'm yelling, but if you don't think I am, that's great.
I may lose you for a second while I switch to my phone. I didn't see myself losing you at all. Looks like we're still working. Are you doing good? Can you hear me?
Yep, you're a little glitchy, but I can hear you fine. The video's a little glitchy on your end, but I'll just listen to the words.
Maybe the glitch was the switch over from.
Oh, there you go. Fine now, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me set my timer because I have a tendency to start talking and ignore. And
how long will this go for, roughly?
20 minutes? I'm thinking maybe 30 minutes.
30 minutes, great.
Yeah. And so
I have no plans.
You are my evening entertainment.
Yes, exactly. Pretty much.
So when you first started writing to publish, I guess you started immediately with crime, or did you go into something else? I hit like 2 different genres before I found that I loved mystery more than anything.
No crime, and I don't write mysteries. I prefer my website says I write about people who do bad things.
Yes.
And that's what interests me. I'm not interested in solving a crime per se. I'm interested in sort of the thought process behind it and who that person is. Um, so yeah, I've only been writing short stories for, gosh, maybe about 3 or 4 years. And they've almost all been crime stories that I've published. And there's something about it that I just find very interesting. And the novel I'm working on now, can you hear me okay? You're glitchy
Yes.
again.
I can hear you. You're glitching just a little bit. We should not be glitching, so it may be on your end. But let's continue.
It might be. It says Emily Dunn's network bandwidth is low.
Oh, well,
I have no idea what that means.
I'm showing good. So
okay. Technology is not my forte.
You were saying that you enjoy working out, I guess, the motivations of the person who commits the crime.
Yeah, I'm not interested in it from the sleuth point of view. I'm interested in it from the criminal's point of view and how people justify things to themselves, which we see everywhere, right? I mean, people do terrible things and like it's totally fine because I was due that, or you did something to me and so I'm striking back in a completely appropriate way when, it's nothing of the sort.
Right.
And that just fascinates me. Like how, so I think that's why I write, because I really want to figure that out.
Yeah, you think to yourself, how can they lie to themselves? They have judged this person as lesser and themselves as higher. Where did they get that mentality? When did that turn happen in their lives? And when did they decide that what this person did was worthy of a total evil and that they were the ones appointed to do that evil?
Yep.
Yeah.
The novel that I'm working on right now is a thriller and it's about terrorism. And it's told from the terrorist point of view.
Right.
And I have given them all a very good motive, justifiable rage. And it's told from 3 different points of view. 2 are the terrorists and 1 is a victim. And I really like having her as a point of view because, it's all righteous and we're doing this thing for the greater good and, all this stuff. And then you see this poor woman who's been caught up in this and she's completely traumatized and she has no idea what's going on. And I think that's really important to include.
Right.
Because I'm absolutely not glorifying terrorism. I think terrorism is not a good thing.
Right.
But I'm interested in
need to make that clear you have to make that clear to some of your more naive readers. And
I hope so.
being polite when I call them naive, the gullible readers.
Well, I mean, there's so much sort of societal anger right now. So it's not set now, it's set after a big global catastrophe.
Right.
But I wanted to sort of take that impetus of this fury that so many people have sort of throughout the political spectrum, right? And striking out at many different targets sort of across the political spectrum. And how that feels so right at the time, I guess.
You're glitching again. Hello? I'm not getting you at all. I'm getting emails in.
There we go. Hello.
Yep. Hopefully I can cut out and snip out the glitches.
Okay, all right.
I'll get the worst of them. Can't get all of them, but maybe
Well,
we
no.
can get the worst of them.
One of those things where the audio will be better than the video, right?
Yes, it always works that way. Um, it's really, you look at crime that happens in the world, and you think, what mentality creates the kind of person who would do that? Where did their barriers go? Because we all have
Yep,
boundaries, but there
yep,
are certain barriers that I would never even
yep.
contemplate crossing. Um,
I
so how can you reconcile that with writing poetry? Please tell me you don't write crime poetry.
do not write crime poetry. But when I write poetry, I tend to write stories. I don't
Yes.
necessarily write confessional poetry about me, which I know
Mhm.
many, many, many poets do. I tend to write, and I started out writing poetry. I mean, apart from that one story when I was 7, I wrote poetry for years and years and years before I turned to fiction.
Right. Hmm.
And in a lot of my poems, I was telling stories. I did an open mic reading once, and I read a poem that I'd written about a teenage runaway.
Hmm.
And it was not me. I've never run away. It was not about my friends. It was just, made up in my head.
Right.
So I read this poem at an open mic, and I went and I sat down, and this young woman next to me turned to me and said, I know just how you feel. I thought, oh God. I suddenly realized that in poetry, everyone assumes that the speaker is the poet.
Yes. They think poetry is more personal. And
It
for many
seems more
poets, like
personal.
Emily Dickinson, it was very personal for her.
For many poets,
Uh,
it is. For many poets, it is.
yes.
But then
But
also you have someone like Louise Gluck in her book, The Wild Iris, where she's
mhm.
inhabiting plants.
Yes. Yeah. And
It's
that's
such a
not,
brilliant book. And oh God, do you know that book? It's
I do not know
wonderful.
that book, but how would people, how would,
Oh, so you have to get it. I think I have it on the shelf. I don't know. You have to read it. What she it's about life, right? And so
mhm.
it's springtime. And so you hear like the iris coming to bloom and what it's thinking. And it's genius. It's like
Right.
all plants.
Mhm.
Genius.
I will have to. Did you say Gluck? How do you
Yeah,
spell her?
Gluck. Louise is her first name, and it's the wild iris. And I think it will.
I'll definitely look into that. Hmm.
Here it is.
Okay. I will try to find that. The Wild Iris, Louise Gluck.
Yep, yep.
Definitely.
Everyone should read it. It's great.
I like poetry that comes at life from the not the ordinary approach. When I was
Right.
young, I preferred the ordinary approach. I guess because I related to it better. Um, But in my middle age, I started enjoying E. Cummings things like "But," which
Yeah.
is extremely hard to understand. But then when you understand it, you're going like, "Whoa, that blew my mind," kind of
Yep.
thing. And so I
Yeah.
love,
E. Cummings is so elliptical, right?
yes, yes, um, and and so I like that digging things out. I didn't like T.S. Eliot when I was younger. I love T.S. Eliot now. Yes,
Um,
the Hollow Men, the Journey of the Magi. You're just going like,
mhm.
oh yes, yes, I totally understand that now where I did not
Right.
before.
Right.
Still don't
Right.
like Prufrock. Could do without Prufrock. The love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. I'm going like, no,
Yep.
no,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I'm definitely not a middle-aged man. I'm just not gonna get it.
I feel like that about Catcher in the Rye. It's never been my thing.
So tell me more about your poetry.
So my poetry was stories. And so when I started writing novels, it's still telling stories, just on
Right.
a much, much larger scope.
Mhm.
And that's actually one of the things that I really enjoy about writing short fiction, like short stories in Flash,
Right.
because it's like a novel, but it's like a poem.
You
Because it's
encapsulated very
all,
compact. Mm-hmm.
yep, it's like the heart of a novel,
Mm-hmm.
which is sort of what a poem is, right? You can tell the same story in any form.
Right.
You can expand it into a novel, or you can just like really hone it down to sort of a 50-line poem, or to a 500 or 1,000 or 3,000 word story.
And when
It's
you're writing,
fascinating.
yeah, when you're writing so compactly, you definitely have to get the word perfect. Each
Yes.
word counts so much, and it's sort of like it's so packed with meaning.
And I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that so much. And that's something that I struggle with novels, is how do you make the language that accurate all the time? And I've come to realize, like, I don't think you can. If you've 80,000 words,
I
if a
don't have
room
to
full
do
of
it in a
monkeys
paragraph.
at a time, they'll disappear.
So, how do you find that poetry helps you as a writer, a writer in general, or a crime writer specifically?
I've been thinking about that. I'm not sure, because I can't imagine being a writer without having had that experience,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and without sort of having that deep understanding of a poem.
Glitch,
It's
please repeat that. You just glitched.
Oh,
Pretty.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay. You would not
Um,
understand the deep understanding of that.
of the importance of drilling down to the heart of something,
Mm-hmm.
like you do in a poem.
Right.
It's absolutely it absolutely works with my short fiction very well, because I'm just very comfortable writing short stories in Flash, because it does feel so familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, it's like this, only with like a little bit more freedom,
Right.
right? It's not like, it's not a sonnet. It's like many more words than that, but it's not as overwhelming as I find novels can be, just because of their length, which I'm still not.
I hate the saggy middle of a novel. When you're
Right.
writing 80,000 words and you're right at the 45,000 mark, and you're going like, I have so far yet to go, and I have to make it
Right.
interesting, but I'm only having to hit these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Why can't I just do the 5 points and finish it
You know
for
what?
85,000 words?
Exactly. Some stories want to have that luxury to them. There's a
Mhm.
story that I keep trying to write, and I want it to be a short story, and it just rambles on and on and on. It wants to be a novel. Like, I don't have time to write you right now. You're gonna have to wait. I don't want you to be a novel. I just want a short story I can like whip out.
I have characters who do that to me. You have to play this small part. You're just here for the small
Right.
part, and the next thing you know, they have filled out a whole page of dialogue because you're just very chatty, and you're going like, "This is great. I love having you." Talk to me more about your how poetry helps with your fiction.
I think one of the interesting things about poetry is that historically it's been the path for fiction.
Right. Hmm.
We have all these, the Odyssey, the Iliad,
Hmm.
Shakespeare,
Yes. Hmm.
Dante, all these incredibly long, 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 long poems, Milton, Paradise Lost,
Hmm. Yes.
um, that tell stories. And I think now we tend to see them as very different art forms, when I think they're very connected, because um, it's storytelling in one form or another.
Right.
And I think in a novel, a novel is a relatively new art form, right? It started, I think, in the 1800s, or maybe the 1700s.
The 1600s. Uh,
It was 1600s, okay.
late 1600s. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
But poetry, right? I mean, poetry and songs, they've been around since
forever.
ever.
Yes. Mhm. Cavemen sitting around the fire at night trying to find the right words to describe that hunt that they were in. While they were hunting and running from the saber-toothed tiger and everything. Or perhaps the first crime story.
I was going to say that's the villain of the piece, yes.
So, what else do you find helpful in your fiction writing besides the words and basically what do you find in the structure of poetry perhaps that helps you with your fiction writing?
Probably inhabiting the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because poetry is a fairly interior process.
Mm-hmm.
And the personal poems that I do write are very, resonant. And then the narrative poems that I write are also very resonant. Like I'm very like I write from first person a lot.
Right.
And obviously I am not actually the character, but while I am writing it, I am that character, right? I was that runaway girl while I was writing
Mm-hmm.
that poem. In
Right.
real life, I was not a runaway girl, but when I wrote that poem, I was.
Right.
And that's a huge thing to be able to do in a novel because you have these characters, you want your reader to be reading your 80,000 words.
Yes.
And if your characters aren't alive, no one's going to read them because no one's going to care.
Right. And so you have to I understand what you're saying about really getting into the character and understanding exactly where they're coming from, what their motivations are, and so that
Yep,
helps you. That really helps you with your dealing with your villainous protagonist in your novels.
it does.
Yes, and we're so when we write, we're so dependent on our imagination to
Yeah,
place
oh,
us
absolutely.
in this other character to understand them, and it takes a lot of I guess it takes a lot of self-analysis in order to analyze someone else as well, and perhaps that's where we are falling down in our education system. I'm going to come at you from an education standpoint because I was 30 years in a high school classroom, and so
You're brave.
yes, I was. I didn't realize it either. Uh, but one of the things that you struggle with your students is to have them have an understanding of what their fellow classmates are going through without bringing up that your fellow classmate is the one going through this, and have them understand the background of characters in order to understand their motivations going forward, what drives them, what has formed their behavior so that they react certain ways and they go forward with certain ways.
I mean, in everyday life, obviously, but also as a writer, because you need to have empathy for your characters, whether they're the hero or heroine saving the day,
Right.
or the
Mm-hmm.
sleuth discovering, what evil is lurking and how they can address it, or whether it's the villain. I think the sort of psychopath, the villain, is not that interesting to me. I prefer people who have very mixed motives. And like I said, they think they're doing the right thing, but
Right.
and I think empathy is required for that because you don't want them to be a laughing stock
Right.
or the sort of evil character trope, ha 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 ha.
Right.
Like that doesn't get you anywhere.
It's almost like I'm sure you've written some narcissist who, when they first meet people, they're putting on a persona that everyone
Yeah,
loves, and it's only as you encounter them later on do you realize the gaps in their personality that make them so self-absorbed, um, and then they start their gaslighting. Yeah.
I have a story that was published about a priest with a gambling addiction
Mm-hmm.
who ends up blackmailing one of his congregants.
Oh, yeah.
It's told from his point of view, and he's like justified, and like because priests are people also.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like everyone has bad things lurking in them.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like most people have these boundaries that they will not cross.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what is it about someone that frees them from that, I guess, if freeing is the right word, or that they allow themselves to ignore the boundary? It's
Right.
probably more
And
accurate.
just go right through it and not ever
Yep.
realize, and
Or not care.
And not care. Just,
Right.
Know that this is going to happen. I'm going to be stained or tainted by whatever I'm going to do. It's going to inform me for the rest of my life and my behavior the rest of my life. But they don't care. They just go ahead and move on with that.
But I mean, this is obviously, right, this is me writing fictional people, so I don't actually know, but I think that level of future thought is not present.
Ah, yes.
Because if you do something awful and you think that this is going to stay with me for the rest of my life, it's really difficult to do, right? This is part of the barrier, that we don't do appalling behaviors, because if I do something awful, that is going to haunt me.
Right.
And I think some people, they can do that awful behavior and just be like, okay, we're good, moving on.
Yeah. I couldn't. It would, every little bad behavior that I've done in the past really haunts me, and I go like, eh. And I'm really glad that I never shoplifted or anything like that, because then it was because my mother would figure it out, because my mother was so smart to figure things like that out. But now I'm so glad that I didn't have to have that burden on me for those little things.
Yeah.
And to know that if I did something wrong, I would get caught. And that may be why.
And there would be consequences, right?
Yes, exactly. That may be why I like puzzle mysteries instead of crime that you write, because I'm trying to figure out how she figured out that I would have done something like that, and she put her foot down before I ever got near it. She was probably just omniscient. She seemed to know everything.
Thought you were.
Or maybe there was a look in my eye. Who knows?
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. What was me?
What was that cartoon? Family Circle. You probably don't remember that. I'm
old. Exactly, right. Me.
Yeah. And you think about the kid who's has been eating chocolate, and they look up at you with chocolate smeared all around their mouth, and you said, "Did you eat a chocolate cookie?" No, not me. So we're coming up on a 23 minutes, which is 7 minutes before the end of our time, and I would like for you to talk about anything that you want to talk about here at the tail end. Put you on the spot there. Do you have anything that's going to be coming out in the middle of October when this episode will air?
I wish I did, but I don't. I have a story that I've sent off, but I haven't heard back from them yet. Mm-hmm. And then I have this novel that I'm working on that I will be querying in mid-October. Mm-hmm. But I don't have any stories or poems coming out at that point.
What is your most recent release that the audience would be able to find?
My most recent release is, hang on one sec. My most recent release was in January. Mm-hmm. And it was in a magazine called The Blooming Onion, and it's called It's Almost Like Poetry.
That's a good title.
Yeah. And it's a flash story about a woman who is being hunted by the police. Mm-hmm. And is caught by the police and is justifying everything in her head. And she's playing with language a lot, and mm-hmm. she's one of these arrogant people that we were talking about, right? She knows better than everyone else. Yes. And she's very cold. And I loved writing her. She was so fun. This just like poured out of me in, I don't even know, like an hour. I was just tapping away like a mad woman in a coffee shop. And like, I almost always write it in first person, or I usually write in first person, but I don't usually like channel people, but I was channeling this character. It was a little weird.
Do you think it was one of your back personas that needed expression?
I hope not. She's really terrible. I don't know where it came from. A lot of rage.
Do you do a lot of your writing in coffee shops?
No.
You may have sat down in the chair she'd been in.
Yeah, I might have. There's a very good point. That's a very good point. I'm actually lucky enough to have two desks in my study. One is my writing desk, and my other is sort of like the general, like, other type of desk.
The business desk.
And it really helps to have a specific, like, creative desk. Because I go there and I'm like, okay, this is the writing. This is like novel, short story, poetry. I do this here. And it's the same room, like they're right next to each other, but it's just this wonderful separation.
That's what I do. I do a podcast over here next to the window. And then I have all my writing is back over there behind me, at an old desk that I found in a secondhand shop, and I just love it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I think even having those little mental spaces is really helpful.
Yes. It's almost.
I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Go on. No, this is on a different topic, so carry on.
Well, I was going to say it's almost as if when I know I'm going to that desk, I have ideas that get into my head as I'm walking around to it. And so I'm setting myself up for the writing process. What were you going to say?
Exactly. I was going to say, I think one of the really exciting things about poetry today is that on social media, you can find all these poets from different countries that you wouldn't otherwise know. I read a lot of poetry from the UK. I have a collection of poetry from Sudan. There's a great magazine called Modern Poetry and Translation. And it's wonderful to have this availability. I have two collections of pulp fiction that have been translated from, and I love having access to such an international scope. And that's definitely something that was not possible pre-internet and before social media.
Right. It's, the internet is,
and I think that
and everything. It expands our world.
Yep. And that's true for poetry and also for fiction.
Yes.
There's a great, short story writer that I follow who's from Kenya. There's a magazine called Faya, which is Black speculative fiction from sort of all over the world.
Right.
Coordinator for a
it gives you a
for a contest.
To really expand your horizons and interact with more personalities without having to travel. And travel is so problematic sometimes for me. Janet,
and some countries are difficult to get.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
This has been a great interview, even with all the computer glitches. That's the end of our interview with Janet Innis. I have new books of poetry to explore as autumn settles in. As always, share this episode with other writers. Send comments and speculations to winkbooks@aol.com. And remember, write on. Thanks for listening to The Write Focus, a podcast for writers at all levels, hosted by Emma Lee from Writers Inc. Books, assisted by Renee Black and Edie Runes. Our focus is productivity, process, craft, and tools. Music is licensed through Audio Jungle, called Background Music Loop. Its creator is Alexander Polishchuk, known on Audio Jungle as Plastic 3. The music comes in different iterations. Show notes and resource links for this and other episodes can be found found at therightfocus.blogspot.com. Write to us at winkbooks@aol.com when you have questions, comments, and speculations. We will try to answer you as quickly as possible. By the way, we will not mind your email address. That's rude. If you find value in our content, share with your writing friends or write a review. We're small beans here without the advertising budget of the big peeps, and you can make a difference. And whatever occurs, write on.